Hey everyone, my name is Ruth Perkinson and welcome to my YouTube channel on tips and tricks sometimes of the spiritual trade. And I'm really happy you're here with me today. All right, so what I'm going to do today is just do the best I can to quickly explain the idea of separation, the tiny mad idea out of A Course in Miracles. Now, this is a huge teaching, and to try to do this in just a few minutes is going to be tricky in a sense, but I'm just going to do the best I can, okay? All right. Before I do that, I just want you guys to remember to always try to get into the zone of spirit, to really know who you're thinking with. Are you thinking with ego mind or are you thinking with spirit mind? And right now, I just want you to really think with love, to think with spirit. And that's going to get you into the zone of receiving this message. All right, here we go. All right. You know, how did we get here? Like, why are we here? What's going on? Did you ever feel like you were walking around this world like you were just a fish out of water? You don't know what's happening, why people get angry, why there's so much war, all the sickness, everything that's going on. It's so bizarre. And, you feel very loving, yet all these crazy things are happening out there in this, what I call the great projection, okay? Right out of A Course in Miracles. Behold the great projection. Okay, what is that and how did we get here? All right, I'm going to use some body language to help you because I think it helps me, so I hope you find that helpful. All right, tiny mad idea. Here we go. Now, just get into this idea that there is 1, 2, 3 things happening. Okay. Sometimes I call it 0, 1, 2, but sometimes we can call it 1, 2, 3. Doesn't really matter. It's all the same idea. All right. Now, God, source, all that is what we call the prime creator. Okay. I'm going to use my hands up here to demonstrate perfect oneness. This is our perfect oneness. Okay. Coming all the way up, all the way down. That perfect oneness with source. And we've never separated from that, ever. Never have separated, never will separate from that. It's always there, okay? That feeling of that perfect love, okay? Perfect oneness. All right, now, prime creator created creation, and that's perfect oneness. And this divine formlessness is just there, giving and receiving love and bliss all the time, that has no opposite. It's always there. All right. Prime creator and creation. Okay. Now, what seemed to happen about, 14 billion years ago is a tiny mad idea came skittering across the mind and it split the mind, okay, into two. We'll just call this, perfect oneness, tiny mad idea, and then we have imperfect two-ness, okay? And you have the idea of separation, the tiny mad idea, and then the idea of, hey, there is no separation. The Holy Spirit, the great correction, came at the same time. So we have the split, tiny mad idea, and then we have the ego mind was made, and the Holy Spirit came in to correct that thought of separation, that one thought of separation. This is insane and this is sane. And then behind the two thoughts there is the decision-making mind. All right. Okay, so you have ego mind, spirit mind, and we have the decision-making mind, which is you. You are the decision maker. You're the chooser. And you're all in mind. This is the second level here. In mind, you're always choosing between either the ego or spirit. Okay, so you're making those decisions or those choices through in the mind. All right, now, what happened was the ego really believed it separated from source. It really believed it. And it felt special love. It felt this specialness. of separating from source, like, really liked it, loved it. And in order to keep the special love, it attacked and murdered God in order to keep the specialness. Okay. All right. That psychic attack, that thought of attack, that is attack. Okay. And then after it did this, it attacked and murdered God, it felt this tremendous guilt over the attacking and murdering of God. So it felt the terrible, awful guilt. Okay, it was very painful. And then the ego became very afraid. The fear came in that what the ego did to God, God was going to do to the ego. So this whole insane thought system of separation, the past, guilt in the present moment, and then fear of the future, that circuitous dynamic of the ego, kind of that insane thought got ginned up. The Holy Spirit is over here saying, it's not real, it didn't happen, I've got the way out for you, and I'll tell you about that. Okay, so anyway, ego mind, spirit mind. Now, this is that division in the mind, that first shield of oblivion that the Course talks about. And so then what happened was the ego had to, gave itself a way out of separation, which was to deny that it attacked and murdered God. And then through the dynamic of projection, all of that guilt got projected out onto the world of time and space. And so this next level, so it's perfect oneness, imperfect two-ness, the split mind, and then the world of form came next. And this is this great projection. All right, it's a lot. I'm trying to keep this very short, but this grand projection, this great projection, this substitute reality became a hiding place for the ego, very afraid that God was going to do to the ego what the ego did to God. Okay, so separation, guilt, fear, and then all of that got projected out. Okay, and so what the Holy Spirit is doing is giving us the way out, which is going back up into the mind at that cause level, at the idea of separation, and healing the cause of separation through forgiveness, which is something we'll talk about on another video in another time. Okay, but just a real quick recap. It's prime creator, creation, perfect oneness. This tiny mad idea came skittering across the mind, and imperfect two-ness was made. This idea of separation, the ego, the sin, the guilt, the fear, the attack, all of that, sickness, okay? And Holy Spirit saying, no, it's not real. We've got also the decision-making mind. So ego, decision maker, and Holy Spirit. And then the ego, again, there was that third thing that happened, which was it projected all that guilt out onto the world. So all of the time frames, the fractals, every timeline was made, not created, but made in that Big Bang, that projection. And so what we're seeing out there is subject and object. It is a world of duality, sin, guilt, and fear. And so what do we do with that? Well, you've got it now. It's the perfect oneness, the imperfect two-ness, and this great projection. So what do I do now, Ruth? I don't know. Now that I got that, what do I do? Well, what do you do? Well, first of all, just be easy on yourself and just go, okay, I'm kind of getting it now. We've got these two thought systems. One is true, one is false, and one is true. And who am I thinking with? Am I thinking with ego mind, or am I thinking with spirit mind? And you're the decision maker between those two thought systems, okay? And again, going back to that first video, how do I feel? And you can be sure whatever you're thinking with up here in mind is coming into you and giving you a feeling of either love, support, helpfulness, kindness, sinlessness, guiltlessness, fearlessness. That's the feeling. It's expansive and loving. or it's contracted and feels terrible. It's the sin, guilt, fear scenario playing out. Okay, so let's all be in perfect oneness, bringing that down into my heart. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to ask for the angel mind, the Buddha mind, and the Christ mind to give you a message right now. Just give you a message of love. You are a messenger of love. You are a universal light of love and truth. And just be that light, reflect that light, and just keep feeling into that zone of spirit. And you can wake up from this dream, this, let's call it what it is, this terrible, awful dream of separation. You can wake up and be back home into that perfect oneness where there's no beginning and there's no end. I love you guys so much. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this was helpful. If it was helpful, share it. If it wasn't helpful, don't tell me. I don't really want to know, but I love you, love you, love you, love you so much. Thank you to my friend who asked me to explain the great projection. She's a great friend of mine, and I appreciate the feedback. All right, you guys, I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.